So he FaceTimed me and stuff like that. He was like, Nipsey just got killed. I'm like, sick, so I didn't hear that. So I hang up with him. I called Nipsey, and I'm like, Nipsey, what's up? He was like, oh, what's up with it?
Nipsey answered.
Nipsey answered. He answered the phone.
Big U was reportedly attacked in jail, allegedly by someone connected to Nipsey Hussle. For years, speculation has surrounded Big U's alleged link to Nipsey's murder. Now, it appears that street justice may have caught up with him behind bars. But that's not all. There's also talk of Loose Cannon and Brick Baby getting into it, and some believe it's all connected. According to multiple sources, Big U, Loose Cannon, and Brick Baby were recently involved in a violent altercation in the federal jail yard.
That's deep right there.
I think the Fed set that shit up because they want them to all be friends or kumbaya. I don't know. I told them, I said, you better shut. I don't care if you fought with you or not. I don't.
This wasn't a minor disagreement. It was a full-scale brawl that triggered a facility-wide lockdown. Here's a quick breakdown of who's involved. Eugene Big U. Henley is a powerful figure in Los Angeles. Once a leading member of the Rollins 60s neighborhood Crips, he later transitioned into music, becoming a manager and executive. He notably managed Nipsey Hussle during the early stages of his career. In March 2025, Big U was indicted on 43 federal counts. Charges include murder, racketeering, extortion, and fraud. Authorities allege he ran a criminal enterprise under the guise of his nonprofit Developing Options. Tremaine Loose Cannon Williams is a 30-year-old rapper and producer from South Central Los Angeles. He had a close connection to Nipsey Hussle and helped produce tracks like Bringing California Back. Following Nipsey's murder in 2019, he remained vocal in defending Nipsey's legacy. Loose Cannon eventually transitioned from producing music to stepping into the spotlight as a rapper. In March 2025, he was swept up in the same federal RICO case as Big U. Then there's Zaire Brick Baby Mitchell, rapper, podcast host, and fellow Rollins 60s affiliate. He comes from the same Crenshaw and Slauson neighborhood as Nipsey Hussle and has collaborated with artists like Kid Ink and Casey Veggies.
He never left.
Where he went, they say he went to the car or something.
No, sir. See, and that's where people get it messed up, and that's where it get convoluted. They had words.
Unlike the others, Brick Baby wasn't indicted on RICO charges. His arrest stemmed from being a felon in possession of a firearm. Still, he ended up in federal custody alongside Big U and Loose Cannon. When initial reports of the jail fight surfaced, many believed it was a conflict between the three men. But according to a YouTube breakdown of the altercation, that wasn't the case. Instead, it was reportedly a collective standoff, Loose Cannon, Brick Baby, and Big U allegedly fighting together against another group in the yard. Despite long-standing tensions, they are said to have put aside personal differences in the moment. Sources indicate that their opponents were members of a rival gang. This wasn't about personal drama, it was about surviving behind the walls of federal detention, where alliances shift under pressure and history takes a backseat to immediate threats. What makes this situation even more intense is the known tension between the three men, especially between Loose Cannon and Big U. Loose Cannon has publicly made serious allegations against Big U, including claims that Big U had prior knowledge of Nipsey Hussle's murder. In a January 2024 episode of the No Jumper podcast hosted by Adam22 and Whack 100, Loose Cannon dropped a shocking accusation. He claimed Big U called him with news of Nipsey's death before the murder had even occurred. According to Cannon, he immediately contacted Nipsey after receiving the call. Nipsey was still alive and reportedly answered the phone. Roughly 30 minutes later, Cannon learned that Nipsey had been killed.
They both did get into a fight, but other people was involved in the fight too.
Oh, really?
Wait, hold up. They jumped Big U? Oh, cuz.
30 minutes later, the homies blowing me up like they just killed Nipsey.
Cannon used this timeline to suggest that the tragedy might have been prevented if Big U had been more transparent. His words implied that Big U's alleged foreknowledge raised questions about possible involvement or, at the very least, missed opportunities to intervene. He stated, "I probably could have stopped it," reflecting his belief that a different response from Big U could have changed the outcome. Cannon also mentioned that Big U and Nipsey Hussle had a strained relationship. He referenced a physical altercation that allegedly escalated to the point where Nipsey's brother, Black Sam, was arrested for discharging a firearm. According to Loose Cannon, the fallout between him and Big U escalated after Nipsey Hussle released a diss track targeting Big U, further straining their already tense relationship. Big U didn't stay silent. In March 2024, he sent a cease and desist letter to No Jumper, denying Cannon's claims and demanding they not be repeated. This legal move added another layer to an already tangled situation. Then came a twist. Cannon's twin brother, Jermaine Williams, spoke out. On the Streets and Scholars podcast in 2024, he denied the phone call from Big U ever happened. Jermaine also accused Cannon of lying about various aspects of his personal life and career, including his marriage and music credits, raising questions about Cannon's credibility. Despite the documented tension, when the Jailhouse confrontation unfolded, Big U and Loose Cannon reportedly stood on the same side.
He went into Master Burgers and ordered a burger. After they had words.
Okay.
And sat in there on camera, walking around. And you can see the derangeness in his head. He sat in there with his shirt off, then walked out. So he didn't leave like they make you think he had words with Nip.
Personal history was set aside in the moment. One of the most surprising details about the fight, it didn't end in the yard. According to a YouTube video detailing the incident, the confrontation began in the courtyard, but continued even after the men were placed in solitary confinement, also known as the hole in prison terms. That escalation shows just how serious and unresolved the conflict really was. Reports say the fight involved 7 individuals aligned with Brick Baby, Loose Cannon, and Big U versus 9 others from a rival group. What began as long-standing personal feuds had clearly evolved into something much bigger inside those prison walls. This wasn't just a brief scuffle, it was a serious physical altercation that triggered a full facility lockdown, cutting off yard access for all inmates. What makes the timing even more intense is that both Brick Baby and Loose Cannon reportedly had bail hearings scheduled shortly after the fight. Engaging in violence just before a hearing is a major red flag for any judge. It suggests a lack of self-control and strengthens the prosecution's argument that the defendants may pose a risk to the community. Some sources have speculated that if injuries were sustained, it could potentially frame them as victims rather than aggressors, possibly helping their bail chances. However, no confirmed reports have detailed any injuries resulting from the fight. It's also worth noting that this Jailhouse brawl involving Big U, Loose Cannon, Brick Baby, and others is separate from another incident involving just Loose Cannon and Brick Baby. According to reports, the two had a disagreement within their housing module. Loose Cannon allegedly confronted Brick Baby, which resulted in their temporary separation. Brick Baby was moved to a nearby cell. Despite this, sources indicate the conflict was resolved quickly, and the two are now reportedly back on good terms.
It was more of a other side against them situation.
Oh man, really?
He FaceTimed me. So he FaceTimed me and stuff like that. He was like, Nipsey just got killed. I'm like, 6 I didn't hear that. So I hang up with him. I called Nipsey and I'm like, Nipsey, what's up? He was like, oh, what's up with it?
Nipsey answered.
Nipsey answered. He answered the phone. And I was like, I love you, cuz, or whatever like that.
Did you tell him the call you just got? Or you didn't even mention it?
I didn't mention it. And that's what f***ed me up, because my cousin is Nipsey baby mama. You get what I'm saying? So it was like, I could have probably stopped it, all right?
These incidents revealed the layered dynamics that exist inside federal detention, especially when it involves individuals with gang ties and public histories. The fact that Big U, Loose Cannon, and Brick Baby, despite serious past disputes, ultimately stood together against a rival group in the yard underscores the strength of prison codes and street alliances. In environments like these, the lines between rivalry and unity can shift fast under pressure. The rivalry between the Rollin 60s Crips and the Bloods stretches back decades, rooted in territorial disputes, control of the drug trade, and long-standing gang pride. Since their formation in the 1970s, this feud has fueled countless violent confrontations, both in the streets and behind prison walls. Inside correctional facilities, these affiliations often intensify. Inmates frequently rely on gang ties for protection, survival, and support. So it's no surprise that Big U, a former leader of the Rollin 60s, joined forces with other Crips affiliates like Loose Cannon and Brick Baby to confront members of the Bloods during the recent prison yard altercation. What makes this moment stand out is the deep personal history between them. Loose Cannon has made serious public allegations against Big U, including claims tied to Nipsey Hussle's murder. Yet, in the face of a common threat, those personal differences were pushed aside. It speaks volumes about the code of loyalty that dominates gang culture within prison systems.
So he FaceTimed me and stuff like that. He was like, Nipsey just got killed. I'm like, 6 I didn't hear that. So I hang up with him. I called Nipsey, and I'm like, Nipsey, what's up? He was like, oh, what's up with it?
Nipsey answered.
Nipsey answered. He answered the phone.
Bloods-Crips rivalry has left its mark far beyond Los Angeles. Notable incidents, like the 2015 prison fight involving rapper Bobby Shmurda at Otis Bantam Correctional Center in New York, show how these hostilities continue behind bars. The recent clash could lead to significant consequences, both legal and personal, for everyone involved. From increased security restrictions to further delays in court proceedings, the impact may extend far beyond the yard where it all started. For Big U, who is already facing severe federal charges including murder and racketeering, this prison altercation could simply add more weight to an already overwhelming legal battle. For Brick Baby and Loose Cannon, both awaiting bail hearings, the timing couldn't be worse. Their involvement in the fight may affect how the court views their risk level and release eligibility. But the roots of this conflict run deeper than any single incident. At the center is the legacy of Nipsey Hussle and a web of relationships dating back to the streets of Crenshaw. To understand what really happened in that jail yard and why it matters, it's necessary to revisit the events surrounding Nipsey Hussle's death and the history between him, Big U, and others in their circle. Nipsey Hussle was shot and killed on March 31st, 2019, outside his Marathon clothing store in South Los Angeles. Eric Holder Jr. was later convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced in 2023 to 60 years to life in prison. According to prosecutors, the motive stemmed from a brief conversation between Holder and Nipsey. During that exchange, Nipsey allegedly mentioned that Holder's name was being associated with snitching, an accusation that carries serious weight in gang culture. Eric Holder Jr., known on the streets as Shitty Cuz and Fly Mac, was, like Nipsey, a member of the Rollin 60s neighborhood Crips. Court documents confirm their affiliation and outline the interaction that occurred in the parking lot of Marathon Clothing shortly before the shooting. Although witnesses describe the conversation between Eric Holder and Nipsey Hussle as calm, Holder appeared deeply affected. One key point of dispute about the murder is the timeline, something Big U has publicly challenged. The commonly accepted narrative is that after the exchange, Holder left the area, changed clothes, and returned later to carry out a premeditated killing. However, Big U presents a different sequence of events. According to him, Holder never actually left the immediate area after speaking with Nipsey. Instead, he walked to a nearby restaurant, Master Burger, where he ordered food. Surveillance footage reportedly captured him shirtless, acting erratically, and appearing visibly unstable while waiting for his order. After eating, Holder then carried out the shooting. This version disputes the idea that he left and returned with intent, suggesting instead that the act was impulsive rather than planned. This distinction matters. The timeline goes directly to the heart of the case. Was this a calculated, premeditated act or a spontaneous escalation of a personal dispute? Big U argues that Holder's behavior, having a visible argument, staying nearby, dining publicly, and being accompanied by his girlfriend, doesn't fit the profile of someone executing a pre-planned hit. It raises questions about motive, state of mind, and how the situation escalated so quickly. Despite the controversy surrounding Nipsey Hussle's death, the organizations he inspired continue to uphold his vision of community empowerment and economic opportunity. The recent jail fight involving Big U, Loose Cannon, Brick Baby, and a rival group adds yet another layer to this ongoing story, one that blends loyalty, betrayal, and deep-rooted community impact. This incident highlights how gang affiliations continue to influence the lives and relationships of high-profile individuals, even as they navigate music careers and legal challenges. Several key questions remain as this unfolds. Will the jail altercation affect Brick Baby and Loose Cannon's chances at bail? Judges often weigh in-custody behavior when making bail decisions, and involvement in violence, especially gang-related, could signal continued danger to the community. How will this incident reflect on Big U's ongoing RICO case? He's already facing serious charges. If prosecutors frame this as further evidence of ongoing gang activity, it could strengthen their position in court. Will more evidence surface about the allegations tied to Nipsey Hussle's murder? Loose Cannon and SKG have made strong accusations, but so far they remain unproven in legal terms. Could new information confirm or contradict these claims? And what about Wack 100? With his public disputes and ties to key players, will he remain a central figure in this narrative as it continues to develop? What's unique here is how this jailhouse brawl bridges old school gang politics with the modern hip hop industry. These aren't just inmates, they're artists with record deals, podcast platforms, and social media presence. This mix of street legacy and industry success creates a layered dynamic where music, influence, and conflict intersect in powerful ways. As the legal paths of Big U, Loose Cannon, and Brick Baby unfold, they'll shape not only their futures, but also the broader conversation around Nipsey Hussle's legacy and efforts to combat gang violence in Los Angeles. If you found this breakdown insightful, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss any of our future content. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.